The Republicans have showed almost like, I don't know if you watch mafia movies.
Yes.
They've kissed a pinky ring finger of Donald Trump and have bowed down. I think to myself, how can these men go home to their wives and expect their wives to look at them as men when they've given away their manhood to another man? Because if you think, you guys have a responsibility to keep the United States what it is, and you've abdicated responsibility as men to another man. You cannot even advise them and say, enough is enough, game over, let's plan for 2024. That I could get behind. But you got Mitch McConnell, Graham, oh gosh, this first name is on the tip of my tongue.
Oh, Lindsey Graham.
Lindsey Graham, Pompeo,
Yeah.
Secretary of State Pompeo,
yeah,
are condoning this and even encouraging this. This kind of rhetoric, like my wife said, could trigger someone, or you may have said, could trigger a young mind to go and do something desperate.
Yes.
What does it cost somebody to make an improvised explosive, carry a gun down the street and start shooting people? But I do believe in my heart of heart, that is what this president wishes he would have, where people will take up arms on his behalf and go and do something. Then he will feel that, yes, these people truly love him. To be honest, I think more so, he's upset that blood hasn't been shed on his behalf.
Well, and if you ask me, do you really think what he's doing, he really cares about, the Republican Party? He cares about, the country, or
he cares about Donald Trump?
He cares about Donald Trump, his ego. And I would want also the message that this sends to our children. I mean, our kids play sports. Sometimes, you win, some, you lose some. Now, if our children play sports and they lose, that game, should they just say, oh, the coach, and go after the coach and say, oh, it was rigged, and everything? So if you look at it, everything that our leaders do, our kids are watching. It's like an example, so it's going to be like, oh, if you go, if you have any competition, anything, you are engaged in any type of contest, you don't really, if you lose, if you're winning, then, everything is fine. And then if you lose, oh, it was rigged. And other nations are watching. This is, I think, is very threatening to, the bedrock of our democracy, as a nation. And I want to find out, but what do you think Democrats also need to do in order to expand the tent and bring, others? Because 70 million, over 70 million people still voted for Donald Trump. And, amongst those, you have white people, blacks, you have Hispanics, you have, Native Americans, you have different, demographics that still voted for, Donald Trump. You have the young and the old.
If I can interject, what I feel is that they're going to hamstring Joe Biden as much as possible. Obama was hamstrung on so many levels because of a negative Republican Party that was resentful of the jacket he was wearing, but also resentful of the ideas that he brought. You got to understand the old guard is still very much in office when it comes to politics. And when Obama came there with his swagger and his, smooth debonair, whatever, they abhorred everything that he represented. And one of the key things that they abhorred about him the most was the Obamacare. Look at what they've been trying to have Trump do, is set that on fire, take away Obamacare, and leave people with pre-existing conditions and stuff like that without enough coverage, naked in the age of COVID. But because of that, your hatred of a person, of what this person stood for, you will want to just erase that in history. But guess what? God is so good. Okay, fine. We'll erase it. What do you have to put in its place? Crickets. They don't have nothing to put in its place. So therefore, why don't you shut up, come back with a decent proposal about what you guys plan to do that can replace Obamacare and take care of your aging population. Guess what? Their population is more aged than ours. They're getting old, and and some of them are wealthy, but predominantly, believe it or not, majority of whites do not live in suburbia. Majority of whites live below poverty level levels as well, strung along and blindsided by snake oil salesmen like Donald Trump. Now, let's call the truth. Let's call a spade a spade. The only thing that we can do as Democrats right now is educate ourselves, in the sense that we got to start knowing what is in these ballots, what is in these bills, what is going on right up to the Supreme Court. All these things is getting Donald Trump out of office was just a teaser.
Yeah.
The real work begins where people now know what every segment of what they checked off on that ballot means, because there it's thousands and thousands of ballots that was voted on, and everybody's rights is controlled within those ballots. And then on top of that, let's get back to number 40. I call him number 45. I don't like to say his name. It's like the boogeyman, but he has put 200 federal judges in the United States.
On the bench, yep.
200. On top of that, he has 3 federal Supreme Justices.
Court. Yeah.
Unlike any other time in history, the morals of the United States is in danger, and is nothing that Biden can do, because anything that goes up to the federal judges and then gets bounced up to the Supreme Court will be voted on based on ultra-conservative issues. The issues at hand is just Biden. It really affects us. And a lot of people are saying, well, what's in it for me? Are they going to give us reparation? I'm talking about Black people. And I'm like, this thing is bigger than what is in it for me. It's what's in it for your children's children going forward. Roe v. Wade is an issue that concerns me immensely. I think it should be left well enough alone where a woman can decide the rights to her own body. There should be nothing to do with a bunch of fat, greasy men sitting in an office.
I like the way when the president-elect Biden came on the podium and he said, I know he knows, he's very level-headed and he thinks a lot, and he knows a lot of people voted against him. But one thing he said was, even those that didn't vote for me, I'm here to work even harder, So he already knows this. I believe he's gonna work for all of us. Yes. And a lot of damage has been done. There's a lot of division. He has to try and bridge that gap, try and bring all of us together. And I think he's starting on a good note. Even, I was watching the news a couple of days ago, and people with disability actually came out and said, this is the first time somebody's actually recognizing us. And in his speech, he actually mentioned them. So it gave them hope. I mean, you could already see they're already rallying around him. And I'm sure if majority of them did not vote for him, but the mere fact that he mentioned them, he included them in his speech, and he made them feel like, humans, which I don't think any president has ever addressed, because the society actually came out and they said so. But he actually came out and he said, I see you. And that's hope in them. Yes. And if he continues to do that, I think he'll be on the right path. I mean, it's a lot of work, and I know he knows it's a lot of work, but he might be able to do the job.
He has 47 years in politics. In politics. He has a lot of friends on both sides, which is where I'm a little bit hopeful that sensible heads would prevail, because he knows how to put his buddies in the headlock, and they can then do what civilized men do, hopefully.
Yeah, I think we can't really conclude this segment without me asking about why also do you think Trump has so much support amongst evangelicals? Because, I mean, we all know that, they voted for him. I'm talking about 80-something%. Why do you think there's this notion that regardless of personality, character, all of those things don't matter, as long as the person is a Republican, the evangelicals just, everybody think, oh yeah, that's where we need to go. If we look at it, what's really sometimes, bothers me is everything that we have just talked about, this man's character and his policies. I mean, inhumane policies, like separating children from their parents, at the border, all of that. Why do you think, because I also asked this question to the Republicans that I interviewed, I asked, and I'm still posing the question to you, like, why do you think that he has so much support amongst even evangelicals?
Let me chime in on that one. To me, church and politics should never intermingle. Church and state should never really, but because it's all within the person, it's hard to separate. They have a double standard in their mind about this religion, this spiritual life, that somebody can come to them and say, well, oh, I'm a Christian, and because of my Christian values, this is what I believe. So therefore, they won't even check the person out. Because he has said, Hail Mary, hallelujah, they're going to trust this person and go all behind that. And that's dangerous. Even the devil can quote you the Bible better than a lot of God-fearing pastors and Christians. And so if these people do not bother to educate themselves about what is this guy's moral compass, or in fact, what church did he really go to before he got into politics? What humanitarian causes was he a part of before he got into politics? Nobody ever cared about that, but because he said, I believe in God, and here's my Bible, hallelujah, amen, oh, that's our man. But yet, he wants to put children behind cages, he wants to build walls, he wants to do he's banned a lot of Muslim countries, and Nigeria was one of them. Nobody wants to talk about that. Nigeria is on the ban list, travel ban, behind this guy. And yet I hear people in Nigeria were wishing for him to get back into power because, quote unquote, he said, oh, I believe in Biafra or whatever. Ask him what Biafra was about. He doesn't know. But people don't, just because he says a little something that interests them, oh, that's our man. Trump is a snake oil salesman. When will people realize that you're being duped every single time that he opens his mouth and you sell out yourself?
Okay, and I think what our call to action, for me, I think we should all educate ourselves about, what's going on in our, politics, in our environment, and don't
especially
just
locally.
Yes,
Start locally. Yes.
Yes. Find out who your congressman is,
yes.
your congresswoman, what their policies are, what the policies that they are enacting, what, is good. People just need to be involved and be educated about what is going on. That's why when you have information, then that helps you make a better informed, decision. Instead of everybody just going blindly and say, oh, because I am registered with this party, then I have to vote this way. Or because I'm a Christian, I have to vote this way. Or because, my parents are, my kids, they are independent. The two of them that are old enough to vote. And I can't sway them here or there because I tell them, go read, study, find out, they come home and we have, a healthy debate as to, why are you supporting this person or why are you voting this way? And then they will tell me this is, the reason why. So I think there should be a call to action for everyone, especially among, Black people. And let's not follow blindly, everyone, don't just, the level of ignorance. If we have that many evangelicals or pastors taken to the streets for Trump, who don't live here, they don't experience what we have experienced here as Black people, in the schools, in the street. Like, my kids go to school.
If I can interject, I'm so sorry. Yes. The thing is, I don't know if a lot of people are familiar with the term sundowner. Are you familiar with the term sundowner?
Yes, yes.
Basically, we've lived in California a long time, Sister Glory, me, but yet, believe it or not, Glendale was a sundowner city. Mm-hmm. And what sundowner city means is when the sun goes down, Black people are not allowed on the streets of the city after a certain hour of the day. Yeah. Glendale just took that off their legal whatever recently and apologized about that. We live in Southern California where it's supposed to be liberal, but California has little key states that were sundowners where it was part of their laws that Black people was not welcome in their area at a certain time of the day. And the reason why I'm using that to point out is some people do not understand that your rights locally are infringed upon. You want to blame the policeman, but there's a certain that if you do not bring your mayors, your senators, and all that to order. They will enact little laws that favor them financially that is not going to favor you as a Black man.
Yeah, I have an example. I remember a couple of days ago, I mean, everybody's talking about politics right now. And I saw one of my friends, one of my Nigerian friends, and we were talking about the politics here. And I was actually saying to her that I wish the library was open. And I might actually write the county, our district over here and say something about the library, that at least maybe they should restrict the number of people that comes into the library. Will be first come, first serve. And the person was like, do you know how to go about writing, asking me questions that who would I write to, who would I address? And I said, I think I know. And of course, if I don't, I might not know the name, but at least I know, who's in charge and whatnot, and I might write the person. And we started having conversations. It's like, okay, so do you know this and that about your county, about where you live? I said, I have to educate myself. I have to get involved. This is where I live. This is where my kids grow up. So I don't have a choice. They go to this school. I know, if I want to speak to somebody regarding their schooling, I know Sagos district, I know where to go to, and I know who to write. And she was like, she can't believe I know all that. I have time on my hands. And I'm like, what do you mean you have time on my hands? And that's why I pointed out to her that I know you know so much about the politics back at home in Nigeria, yet you don't live there. I said, it's a shame that when we come here, we close our eyes to so many things happening around us, but yet back home, we know the governor, we know the mayor, we know every little nitty-gritty details about back home, and we don't even live there. Sometimes some of us don't even go home for like 20 donkey years, for every little details that's, going on back home, we know it. But here where you live, just in your county where you stay, you don't even know anything. And, it's just how ignorant people are and how they're not, interested in what's going on. But this election has made everybody aware that they do need to get involved. They do need to, put a contribution one way or the other to what's going on around them, and which is good. A lot of people are opening their eyes.
I think, thank you so much, for that. And I think also, before we end this program, I also want to let people know that there's still a runoff that is going to happen on January 5th in Georgia, where you still have two, Democrats. That's what is going to decide the balance of power in the Senate.
In the Senate, yeah.
If in case you don't know, you have to be aware of that now. And, if you know people, in Georgia, you call them to make sure they go vote. Just because we have elected Joe Biden, they don't understand that Joe Biden may be there and he may not be able to do much if the Senate stands in his way and prevents him, from doing what he needs to do. Except there's so much, he can only do so much with executive power. There are some things that you cannot do with, executive power. So for people to be aware of that, people who live in Georgia, for them to know that in terms of how much power McConnell has in the Senate has to, also hinges on what happens on January 5th in Georgia. A lot of people, may not be aware of that, and I know a lot of people are aware of it. But those who are not aware, we are also using this forum to let them know, that there's still, it's not, done yet. We still have, the balance of power in the Senate. Right now, we know that, Democrats still hold a slight majority in the House. However, in the Senate, if they lose that runoff, guess what? McConnell maintains, majority. So that's another thing that we also just have to let people know. So those who live, in Georgia, even after voting, I'm so glad that the state was turned blue, but after voting, for presidential election, they still need to go ahead and vote, for the Senate. They have, two candidates, there that are running, for the Senate. And thank you so much. At this time, I know we can go on and on. I really, enjoyed, this segment, with both of you. Thank you for coming, and we hope you will join us again in the future. For us, we need to keep, talking about these things and letting people know exactly, what is going on. We do our best, the best, in whatever way we can. And thank you for coming. I really do appreciate it.
Thank you for having us.
And thank you so much.
Very informative and fun.
Let's
do this soon.
Thank you so much for having us.
Yeah, don't forget to share, like, and subscribe to our channel. And until I see you next time, be very careful. We know the coronavirus is raging out there and the surge. Please, stay safe with your family. Thank you.